I was halfway through my first cup of coffee when the world outside my kitchen window stopped making sense. The rumble I heard wasn't just another farm tractor plowing a nearby field. It was deeper, angrier, and it shook the floorboards beneath my feet. I ran to the porch, still in socks, and that's when I saw her, Meredith Langley, HOA president, standing atop a bulldozer like some twisted beauty queen, waving a stack of papers and smiling as steel teeth chewed through my corn. She was bulldozing my field that I'd spent 6 months nurturing, planting, irrigating, caring for like it was part of me. Row by row, the corn went down, shredded into dust. I ran out screaming, arms waving, heart racing, demanding she stop. Meredith didn't even blink. She raised those damn papers and yelled over the engine. This field violates community beautification standards and fire safety codes. Now, here's what she didn't know. What nobody knew: that Cornfield was ground zero for a NASA climate research balloon launch scheduled for 3 days later. The equipment, the telemetry markers, the underground sensors, they were all delivered under federal secrecy. I wasn't even supposed to talk about it. And here she was, turning the place into mulch with a self-righteous grin. I tried to run to the edge of the field to stop her before she hit the marker lines, but she just kept plowing forward, shouting HOA jargon like she was leading a crusade. That's when Alan, my retired Marine neighbor, charged out of his house in a camo robe holding a frying pan. He hollered, "Meredith, what the hell are you doing?" "This is a beautification emergency," she screamed back. "I'm executing executive HOA authority." That wasn't a real thing. She made it up. But the bulldozer didn't care. It kept chewing. I sprinted back inside, heart pounding, and called the encrypted emergency line. I wasn't supposed to unless national equipment was in danger, but this absolutely qualified. A woman answered, calm and clipped. "Dr. Rivera, speak." I told her everything in 30 seconds flat. She didn't say much, just, "We're dispatching a team. Do not engage further." Outside, Meredith was on her 5th row. A few neighbors had gathered, half filming, half gawking. Then Dennis, the HOA treasurer, showed up with a laminated map and started quoting obscure sub-rules about agricultural overgrowth. I asked if he even knew what that meant. He didn't. Meredith screamed, "It's corn. It's literally invasive in some states." That's when one of the teenagers whispered, "Hey, isn't this where those black trucks came last week?" Exactly what I'd feared. Now rumors were flying. Meredith dismounted from the bulldozer like a monarch descending her throne, waved a clipboard at me, and shrieked, "You'll be billed for obstruction of neighborhood harmony and unapproved soil saturation." I just blinked. That's when the black SUVs rolled up. No sirens. Just quiet authority. 4 suits stepped out, including Dr. Rivera, NASA jacket and all. She took one look at the flattened rows and asked, cold and clear, "Who authorized machinery on federal launch grounds?" Meredith opened her mouth, but Rivera cut her off. "Not asking for a story. You have 10 seconds. Meredith fumbled with her clipboard. Dr. Rivera handed it off without a glance, then examined the field, eyes stopping where one sensor marker had been ripped from the ground. Her jaw tightened. This may constitute federal sabotage. For the first time, Meredith shut up. Alan crossed his arms and muttered, "Told you." Dr. Rivera ordered aerial scans, locked down the site, and placed caution tape all around. The sheriff showed up next, totally baffled. And by morning, my yard looked like a miniature launch site, floodlights and fencing and all. But Meredith wasn't done. No, she started handing out conspiracy pamphlets at the gas station, accusing me of leasing land to foreign agents. She claimed the balloon was a surveillance drone designed for population control. I wish I was making that up. She even called an emergency HOA meeting titled Community Safety vs. Secret Launch Projects. What are they hiding? I went. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed to see who still bought into her madness. She stood at the front in a pantsuit like she was campaigning for office, claiming I violated the neighborhood's environmental covenant and endangered wildlife. I waited until she was done, then asked one question. How many of you think she had legal authority to bulldoze private land that's under federal designation? Nobody raised a hand. The room was dead silent. Then Sandra, another board member, stood up and said, "I told her not to do it." She didn't have board approval. The room cracked. People turned on her. Meredith screamed that we were all brainwashed, that she had emails proving NASA was mining mind control frequencies. One teen in the back whispered, "She thinks they're building aliens in the cornfield." I didn't laugh. I went straight to the sheriff. They already had surveillance footage, partial fingerprints, and a crude jamming device that had been found near the launch antenna. It was her. The boots, the walk, the hoodie, the prints, all matched. The next night, Meredith tried to break into the NASA trailer. They caught her on thermal cameras, prying the hatch open with a crowbar. When arrested, she yelled something about stopping the alien beacon. They zip-tied her, gently but firmly, and hauled her away screaming, "You don't understand what they're doing. This isn't over." And maybe it isn't. But the next morning, at 5:57 a.m., that balloon launched. Smooth as silk. I stood there with a hot coffee in one hand, a laminated NASA guest pass in the other, and watched it rise into the sky like a ghost. Up and up, until it was just a dot. Justice doesn't always look like a courtroom. Sometimes it looks like a balloon disappearing into the stratosphere, leaving behind the wreckage of one woman's need for control. And even now, as I walk past that field, I still see the marks of where her bulldozer rolled through. But I also see something else. A scar, sure, but also a line in the dirt. A boundary. And maybe next time someone like her thinks of crossing it, they'll remember what happened when she did. Now let me ask you, do you think HOA power has gone too far in some places? Was I right to call on NASA, or did Meredith have a sliver of logic under all that crazy? Drop a comment. Let me know. I'm still not over it, and I bet some of you have stories just as wild. I was standing in my kitchen, sipping my usual bitter black coffee, when the whole house trembled, not a gentle vibration like a passing truck, but a deep, jarring rumble that rattled the mugs on the shelf. At first, I thought maybe one of the local farms had started an early harvest. But then I heard the metallic growl of an engine and the sharp screech of steel. My heart dropped. I ran outside in my socks, feet slapping the porch wood, and what I saw froze me to the spot. Me Cornfield, the pride of my summer, was being torn apart by a bulldozer. Atop the machine sat Brenda McCoyer, HOA president, perched like some kind of dictator queen, waving a stack of papers in one hand like a royal decree, while her bulldozer devoured row after row of stalks. She was grinning. Actually grinning. The same cornfield I had planted by hand, row by row, in sweat and silence, was vanishing before my eyes. And she had the audacity to yell over the roar. Just doing my duty to beautify the neighborhood. She had no idea. No one did. That cornfield wasn't just corn. It had been reserved under federal coordination for a NASA weather balloon launch, scheduled in less than 72 hours. The field had been chosen for its remote location, soil consistency, and low electromagnetic interference. I'd been under strict orders to keep it quiet, need-to-know basis, black SUV deliveries, encrypted comms, the whole bit. And here she was, flattening it with a rental bulldozer like it was an eyesore. I sprinted toward her, screaming, waving my arms, hoping she'd snap out of her lunacy. But she just held up those smug documents again and barked. This field violates fire code and community planting aesthetics. Section 5.3 of the HOA Charter. Look it up. Like she was quoting scripture. By then, neighbors had started to gather. Some stared in disbelief. Others filmed it like it was a reality show. Old Marvin from across the road came running out in his camo robe and brandished a frying pan like he was about to duel the bulldozer. "Brenda, have you lost your dang mind?" he yelled. Brenda didn't even blink. I ran back inside, heart pounding, and called the secure line. I wasn't supposed to unless it was a direct threat to the mission, but this qualified. Within minutes, they patched me through to DR. Alexis Monroe, the lead on the balloon telemetry program. When I told her, she paused and said only, "Coordinates. We're en route." 10 minutes later, black SUVs glided in like ghosts. Out stepped 4 agents and a tall woman in a faded NASA windbreaker. DR. Monroe. She didn't yell. She didn't posture. She just looked at Brenda and said, "Who authorized this equipment on a federal test site?" Brenda sputtered something about weeds and neighborhood safety, waving her clipboard like it had national jurisdiction. DR. Monroe didn't even look at it. She turned to her team, pointed at a spot where Brenda had just flattened the conduit marker, and said, "This may be breach level. Aerial scans now." Brenda went pale. For the first time, She stopped talking. Over the next 48 hours, the field transformed. Security fencing went up. Local news stations arrived. And Brenda? She pivoted like only Brenda could, started telling folks I was illegally renting land to foreign agents, claimed the balloon was a mind control experiment, and passed out flyers titled, "What Your Farmer Isn't Telling You." The HOA board held an emergency meeting. Brenda showed up with her sidekick, Greg the treasurer, and Sandra, the secretary, who looked like she regretted ever learning how to read. Brenda claimed that the balloon would interfere with bird migration patterns and cause neighborhood depression. I kid you not. She said it out loud, into a microphone. I let her finish, then stood up and asked the room, "How many of you think she had the right to bulldoze private property without a single word to the owner?" Silence. Not even Greg raised his hand. Then Sandra cracked, said Brenda had never gotten board approval. Greg muttered he thought the bulldozer was for landscaping. The whole HOA fell apart like a card table in a windstorm. And just when we thought the circus was done, that night one of the perimeter drones caught motion near the launch trailer. A figure in a hoodie, crouched low, planting a small metal box near the sensor cable line. Security responded fast, but the person was gone. What was left behind, though, was a crude jamming device, low-grade, but dangerous enough to skew sensor data. Fingerprint match confirmed it the next morning, Brenda. And she didn't stop there. That same evening, she tried to break into the mobile lab trailer with a crowbar, claiming she was stopping the alien beacon. She was arrested on the spot. Now here's the part I'll never forget: launch day. The air was crisp, sun just peeking over the hills. The balloon, towering and silent, lay curled like a sleeping beast, and Dr. Monroe stood beside it like a conductor ready to lead a symphony. She handed me a laminated visitor pass and said, "You earned this." At 5:57 a.m., the clamps released. The balloon rose first slow, then steady, then climbing like it had a purpose. People clapped. Marvin cried. Reporters filmed every second. And somewhere, in a holding cell under federal charges for interfering with a classified scientific experiment, Brenda McCoy had to watch it all from a little screen. You know, folks like Brenda, they think rules are for other people, and power is something you can laminate and wave in someone's face. But in the end, truth rises. Like that balloon. And I'm just glad I stood my ground when it mattered. What do you think? Was Brenda just crazy? Or is there something deeper to folks like that who can't stand not being in control? Let me know in the comments. And if you've ever had your own HOA nightmare, I want to hear it. Because sometimes, the real battle isn't weeds or property lines. It's knowing when someone's crossed a line and having the guts to say, "Not here. Not this time." Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and more importantly, stay alert out there. You never know when someone's going to try and bulldoze your life literally.